super, super cool. Definitely be sure to be stocking my Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/Taeler Hendrix, because I do have a brand new shirt coming out. It has been a hot minute. It's so cute. I love it. It's so me and my cat Salem. All right, here we go. Q&A. All right, some fan questions that I myself will answer. Someone asked me who are, in my opinion, some underrated female superstars in wrestling. There's quite a few, to be honest. There's quite a few. But when I think of this question, several immediately come to my mind. I definitely think of the Pink Dream, Alex Gracia. It still blows my mind that that woman is not signed yet. She's been on this podcast before. She was actually supposed to appear a second time, but there was like a scheduling conflict. I just think there's so many aspects to her person as well as professionally speaking that it was a no-brainer for me. If I was running a company and I had a budget to sign a men and a women's division, she would be one of my first picks. Another woman who I think is also very underrated for her talent and her versatility is definitely Giselle Shaw. I know that you guys see her on Impact Wrestling, but I don't think she's getting as much credit as she actually deserves. Really, really fun and cool is I'm still one of her highest viewed matches on YouTube. Not to toot my own horn, but but seriously though, I think she is a drastically underrated star. I had so much fun, helping her with vignettes and stuff for her quintessential diva gimmick back in the day. She is definitely somebody to keep your eye on. I think, WWE made a mistake when they negged her on her contract, because she was originally signed, I believe, out of the tryout that her and I both were at. And then for whatever reason, they backed out of it or something. I don't really know, but she's definitely somebody you don't want to sleep on. Another person would be Santana Garrett. She is absolutely phenomenal. She's wrestled all over the world, but I feel like she's slowly fizzled down a little bit. I'm glad to see that she's back at WWE. I don't know if she's doing something with the Performance Center, in what capacity. I'm not too sure. So I won't, speak on that because I don't know. I don't like to speak on things that I don't know. But I do think that she is an absolutely amazing talent. She's beautiful. She's spunky. She's got moxie. She's fun to watch. She has a really versatile in-ring style that I really just enjoy working with. She's one of my favorite opponents, and I just feel like she has so much that she could give to a wrestling company. She would be another woman that I would sign. I also do not understand why Queen Aminata, I hope I'm saying her name right. I hate when I mess up people's names because people mess up mine. I hate it. I do not understand why she's not signed. With everybody being signed and everybody getting opportunities, I do not understand why it's not her. I think that there's a look you can really build with for television. And man, if I was in control of her gimmick right now, especially with the upcoming release of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, there is so much that she could do with her gimmick that would really resonate with fans, on top of her in-ring talent, which is just so innate and unique to her. She would be another one that I would snatch up right away. Let me see here. There's so many. My mind is just spinning. I probably could do a whole video on that. So I'm going to stop myself there because we only have so much time, for this episode, but I could definitely count quite a few more. But those are the girls that immediately come to my mind, just right off the top of my head. If I put more thought into it, there could be a ton more. I think that's why I always really enjoyed doing the articles for Fightful, where it was like, female free agents to look for in such and such a year. I mean, I called it. I called Sloane Jacobs. I called it before she got signed and changed her name. I called Giselle Shaw before she was at Impact Wrestling. Viperous, I still don't understand why she's not signed. There's definitely a lot of potential with her look in her wrestling and her gimmick that you could really, really work with. I mean, I firmly believe that. I called that. I called the Max chick. I called Nina from the Philippines, Lady Frost, Janai Kai. There's just so many girls that I put them in the feature, and it's just really cool. Okay, anyway, what is a fun fact about me? Okay, a fun fact about me. I love bats. I think they're the cutest. I love bats. I legit do. I follow that bat sanctuary on Instagram, and they do Bat Booty Tuesday or something like that. And it's just so cute. And they're like little rat booties with their little tails and stuff. And I like watching them eat. I love bats. There was actually bats in the attic at the house I grew up in. Yeah, so I love bats. Okay, another person asked me, how did I come up with my entrance music, which is the song Freak Like Me by Hailstorm? Well, first off, I love Hailstorm. They're absolutely phenomenal. They're amazing and wicked and cool and awesome and just unique and different and unusual, and I love it. I love that energy. And because I love that energy, it's because I feel like that's very much my personality. It was a no-brainer. I'm a freak. And I'm proud of it. I've always been a freak. I've never fit in anywhere. Like we've talked about on this podcast, I've always been like too early or too late. I have something on my lip here. I've never quite fit in. You know, I don't fit in with people my age. I don't fit in with people younger than me. A lot of times I fit in with people that are a lot older than me, you know. I just have a different personality, and I didn't always have the social skills that I needed for wrestling, for many different reasons. I didn't have those social skills. So I was very much misunderstood, which is hilarious. You know, I've heard so many different critiques of myself from other people, whether it's to my face or not. Or I'll hear a rumor about myself and be like, huh, that's so weird. It must have been an out of body experience because I don't remember doing that. Huh. What a crazy thing, you know? So I don't know. I've always been a freak, and I've always just enjoyed, you know, being that underground sort of revolution, you know, that a voice to the voiceless, and, you know, where are my freaks at, you know? So picking Freak Like Me was very much my personality, and it always has been, and it always will be. It's definitely a facet of who I am as a multidimensional sort of person. I peel back the different onion layers of Taeler Hendrix, basically. What is something that I currently hate about AEW? Ooh, that is a loaded question. I just think that there needs to be more hands-on from management creatively. You know, you have wrestlers that aren't signed, beating wrestlers who are signed, who have barely been used since they've been signed. There's people that seem like they're changing their gimmick every other week without any sort of explanation as to why. And then you have such a giant roster, most of whom aren't even being used, but then there's all these people that aren't signed coming in and taking up valuable, expensive, I might add, TV time. And I also just think that, you know, there needs to be, you know, people say a lot about Vince McMahon and, you know, how tight he held the reins creatively, so to speak. But I think a little bit of that could definitely be used at AEW. And I think that would better the amount of injuries that are happening, as well as, you know, a quality control. You know, there would be less wardrobe issues, there would be less bad camera angles, and more of the right people getting TV time that suits not only their talent, but also where they're supposed to be, you know, on the roster and the card and so forth. Like, there's only so much TV time, and it's so expensive. Like, it's so expensive. So you want to use that wisely, you know, because eventually money will stop. You know, if you don't use it the right way and have a return on your investments. And I think that there's a lot of really talented people that aren't necessarily getting the TV time that they have earned as well as deserve, because there is a difference between deserve and earned. So I think more quality control for sure, because camera angles can ruin your move. The wrong camera angle can make it look like you killed somebody in a good way without actually killing them. Or it can make it look like you missed by a million miles. You know, camera angles are so important. Your gear is so important. The way you talk on the mic is so important. The way you come out to the ring is so important. You know, it really grinds my gears when you're supposed to be in this heated storyline. Like, you hate the person you are about to wrestle. They just dissed your family. They're the reason why you might be struggling to put food on your family's table and a roof over their head, because they decided to take your career into their hands and mess with your livelihood, and you just can't stand them and you want to beat the bloody out of them. But then you're coming to the ring like, hey! And then you're going to get in there and lock up. Like, you're supposed to hate that person, you know? So I just think quality control, because there are so many amazingly talented people that have really earned their right to be on television. And, you know, if there's somebody backstage in a management role that can really just take the reins and present these superstars into these well-polished packages for you, the fans, it's going to make ratings go up, 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 up. the quality of their worth as a superstar go up, 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 and how much money they're actually able to make now and into the future go up, 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 up. You know, like there's just so many aspects that go into this, and each superstar should be looking at themselves as their own brand, as well as being a part of the company's umbrella brand. Like there's so much business aspects that go into it. Okay, how do I feel about multiple power bombs? It really all depends. I have done power bombs in my matches and I've never hurt anyone. However, you know, whiplash can very easily happen. Your neck is a very fragile thing, especially for women. You know, the skeletal structure for men and women is very, very different. You know, men have a bigger lung capacity, you know, which, you know, aids in things like swimming and, you know, aerobics and physical sports where, you know, you need a lot of endurance. This is also why like the neck structure and the bones and the strength in a woman's neck is also drastically different, which can be affected, you know, going like this and so forth, for moves where you end up getting whiplash in the match and up against the mat, which is basically like a car accident going at 15 miles per hour. I think the studies have shown. And this is also indicative of soccer, where, you know, there's actually more concussions and neck injuries in women's soccer as opposed to men's soccer. It's not that the women aren't talented, it's just our bodies are built differently and for different things. It's just basic science and biology. So I think if you're going to do something like that, like understand that it's a sport, it's an art, but it's also a work. Like you don't want to be intentionally, you know, putting all of your power into it. You're supposed to just be looking like you're putting all of your power into it. So you're not actually killing someone or potentially ending their ability to fulfill their dreams and their livelihood. So it's also very similar to the last question. But that's my take on it. I'm not against, you know, multiple power bombs, but I'm also not for like killing people in the ring. Like I am very proud of the fact that I don't need all 10 fingers to count how many people I have accidentally hurt in the ring. Like I don't even need all 5 fingers to count. Like I actually was very, very good with that. And I'm very, very proud of that. I've barely ever hurt anyone, in the ring. Okay. Another person asked me about taking chops and giving chops as if there's a big difference. I guess maybe to some people it might be a big difference, but to me, I never really saw a difference with giving chops, you know. Like I would give them to a man the same way I give the chops to a woman, in the ring. And I know that a lot of people don't like to take my chops because they're super hard and super stiff and they make such an amazing noise. Sometimes I'll bruise like the nodules on my fingers because I hit so hard with the chop. But I think to my credit, I am old school in the sense that if I dish it, I will also take it. I've always been that sort of person. If I can't take it, I'm not going to dish it. So whenever I do chops, I always make sure that the person I'm giving them to can give them back to me. And oftentimes I'll call for them to keep going and give me more than I actually gave them, which I also think creates like a good bonding moment with the fans that they get to really get in on and enjoy, and kind of draws them into the story you're trying to tell in the ring, which is how you make money. And, you know, that especially worked for me because a lot of the times I was the heel, so I was playing the bad guy anyway. So that always worked to my advantage. Another person asked me if they could see my brain scans. Considering that's a medical issue, I will defer and decide to keep things like that, you know, more private. Because, you know, you never know what people will try to use against you when they're trying to paint you as a lunatic, crazy bee, drama queen, this, that, and the other. So just know that I am healthy, and all the things that I'm not healthy with, I'm taking care of. I take really good care of myself. And what I think we can learn from my brain scans and from other people in the business is that you need to protect your skull. Protect your brains, because deficits come in many different shapes and sizes. You can have a cyst in your brain that you don't even know is there, for example, and it doesn't affect you whatsoever. It's in a part, like your brain does not feel pain. It does not have any pain nerve centers or whatever in the brain to cause pain. You know, millions of people or even more die of aneurysms that burst every single day that they didn't even know they had. Deficits can come with memory retention problems, problem solving skills decreasing, speech impediments, confidence, eating disorders, depression, mental disorders like schizophrenia, CT, CTE, PTSD. We already said depression. There's just so many different things that happen in correlation to head trauma. You know, Alzheimer's and dementia have been linked to CTE. Schizophrenia can potentially be something to do with trauma to the brain. PTSD is a really big problem. Impulse issues and all kinds of other things really, you know, that's why people that were talking negatively about Christopher Nowinski, I didn't understand that, because there's so much work that he has done that will really benefit all of us. And I know that that is something that Shannon Daphne was very passionate about. And I feel like people aren't paying enough attention to her story and to what she was trying to impart on all of you when she passed. And she donated her brain to science, to Boston. And, you know, we need to be learning from these things instead of repeating the same mistakes, which is what Daphne didn't want, and people were not listening. And I think based on the stuff I'm seeing, they're still not listening. And that is something that I really want to preach loud and hard and consistently, is a lot of those finer points. What is my favorite finisher? Mine, duh. Like when people looked at me, they always, you know, pegged me and like tried to box me up in certain boxes to define me or whatever. And like nobody ever thought, you know, oh, there's Taeler Hendrix, her finisher's a tombstone pile driver, you know? So I loved the fact that my finisher was a modified tombstone pile driver. And there was only one girl that, you know, that was willing to take it that I couldn't give it to. Because the drastic height difference and the weight distribution was just too different. It was throwing me off my balance, and that's the last thing you want when you're doing that type of move. But you know, I was able to lift Lufisto up into it. I was able to lift Chelsea Green, Giselle Shaw, like so many different women, and they took it so well. Mandy Leon took it great. I think I gave it to Scarlett Bordeaux at least once. You know, there was very few women who wouldn't take it, and I don't know if it was because of me or just the stigma with the move, but there was very few girls that weren't comfortable. And I always told them, you know, it's totally fine if you don't want to take it, but at least while we're back here going over stuff, let me at least pick you up and put you in it, and I can bridge you back over so you're not actually taking it, and then I help you stand up yourself, just so they could feel it. And sometimes the girls that would let me like put them up in it, they're like, oh, this is easy as heck. And I'm like, yeah, I do all the work, babe. And then some of them would still take it. They would take it. So yeah, that would totally be my favorite finisher. Bullying. We talked a little about this. Someone asked if I still deal with bullying today. Yeah, I absolutely do. I deal with bullying all the time. As a matter of fact, I was getting bullied like less than 48 hours ago on social media. But do I put it over? No, not really. You know,